Hey everyone, welcome back to Better Talk English. I'm Victoria, and I'm really excited for today's episode. There's something we all experience at some point when speaking English, and it can feel a bit frustrating. It's that moment when your mind suddenly goes blank in the middle of a conversation.
Hey guys, I'm William. And yeah, I think almost every learner knows that feeling very well. You start speaking confidently, everything is going fine, and then suddenly you don't know what to say next. And that silence can feel much longer than it actually is.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And sometimes it's not even about vocabulary, it's just that you run out of ideas. Like you understand the language, but you don't know how to continue the conversation naturally. And that's what makes it uncomfortable.
Yeah, and I think many people believe this happens because their English is not good enough. But actually, it's more about conversation skills than language knowledge. Even with simple English, you can keep a conversation going if you know how.
Right, and that's actually what we're going to talk about today. We're going to explore how to never run out of things to say and how to keep conversations flowing naturally. It's not about memorizing sentences, it's about understanding the flow of communication.
Oh, yeah, and I really like this topic because it changes how you think about speaking. Instead of worrying about what exact sentence to say, you start focusing on how to continue the interaction, and that makes conversations feel much easier.
And I think one important idea here is that conversations are not about giving perfect answers. They are more like a shared process where both people build the conversation together. That takes some pressure off immediately.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't need to carry the whole conversation by yourself. You just need to keep it moving a little bit each time you speak. Small contributions are enough to keep things alive.
Oh, wait, that's such a good point. Because many learners think they need to say something long or impressive, but in reality, even short reactions can keep the conversation going. It's more about engagement than length.
Yeah, and one simple trick is to always add something extra to your answer. Instead of giving a short reply, you add a small detail, opinion, or question. That naturally opens the door for more conversation.
Exactly. And let's make that clearer with an example. If someone asks, "How was your day?" you don't just say, "It was good." You can say, "It was good. I was a bit busy, but I finally finished my work."
Oh, yeah, and now the conversation has somewhere to go. The other person can ask about your work or your day. That small extra detail creates a new path.
And I think questions are also really powerful here. If you don't know what to say, you can simply ask something related. That keeps the conversation balanced and active.
Yeah, exactly. And asking questions shows interest too. It makes the other person feel comfortable and more willing to continue speaking. That's how natural conversations grow.
Oh, wait, let's try a quick mini example. If someone says, "I watched a movie yesterday," instead of just saying, "Nice," you can ask, "Oh, really? What movie was it?" That keeps it going immediately.
Yeah, and then they answer and you can react again, like, "Oh, I've heard about that one. Was it good?" See, it becomes a chain of small interactions. You don't need big ideas.
And that chain idea is really important. Conversations are not one big sentence, they are many small connected pieces. Once you understand that, it becomes much easier.
Right. And another useful trick is sharing your own small experiences. Even something simple like, "I had a similar situation last week," can extend the conversation naturally. It makes things more personal.
Oh, yeah, and personal details make conversations more interesting and real. They create connection, not just information exchange. That's what keeps people engaged.
Yeah, and I think once you combine all these small techniques, adding details, asking questions, sharing experiences, you start to see how conversations can continue almost endlessly. It's not magic, it's just understanding how flow works.
Hmm. So now that we understand the basics of keeping a conversation going, I think we can go a bit deeper into how to make it feel more natural and less forced. Because sometimes people know the techniques, but they still feel like they're just using tricks instead of really communicating. And that's where storytelling starts to help a lot.
Oh, yeah, storytelling is a great way to extend any conversation naturally. Instead of giving short answers, you turn your response into a small story, even if it's very simple. That immediately gives you more to say without thinking too hard.
Right. And the interesting part is that your story doesn't have to be long or dramatic. It can be something small, like yesterday I went to a cafe and something funny happened. That alone creates curiosity and keeps the conversation alive.
Yeah, exactly. And once you start a story like that, the other person is naturally interested. They might ask questions, react, or share their own story. That creates a natural back and forth flow.
Oh, wait, let's actually build a small example together. Imagine you ask me, what did you do yesterday? Instead of saying something short, I could say, I went out for coffee, but the place was so crowded, it was kind of unexpected.
Yeah, and now I can react like, oh, really? Was it one of those popular spots? See, I'm not just listening, I'm adding something that keeps it moving. That's how conversations grow step by step.
And then I might continue, yeah, exactly. And I had to wait for like 10 minutes just to order. Now the story expands a bit more, and it still feels natural, not forced.
Oh, yeah, and then I can connect it to myself, like, oh, wow, I hate waiting like that. It always feels longer than it actually is. That adds a personal reaction, and now it becomes more engaging.
Exactly. And that connection part is really important. When you connect what someone says to your own experience, the conversation becomes more interactive. It's no longer just one person talking.
Right, and I think this is where many learners struggle. They focus too much on answering questions instead of building on ideas, but conversations are about expanding, not just responding.
Oh, yeah. And another powerful strategy is using follow up thoughts. Even after you answer, you can add something like, by the way, or actually, to continue speaking. That gives you more control over the flow.
Yeah, those small phrases are really useful. They give you time to think and also signal that you're not finished yet. It keeps the conversation open instead of closing it.
Right. And let's make it more dynamic with a slightly longer role play. Imagine we're meeting after a few days and just catching up naturally. I might say, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. What have you been up to?
Oh, yeah, I could answer like, not much really, just been working a lot, but actually something interesting happened the other day. That already opens a new direction. It invites curiosity.
Hmm. And then I naturally react like, oh, really? What happened? Now I'm helping the conversation continue. It feels automatic.
Yeah, and then I can say, well, I was on my way home and suddenly it started raining so heavily I didn't even have an umbrella. Now I'm telling a story. It becomes more engaging.
Oh no, that's the worst. Did you get completely soaked? That reaction as emotion, it makes the conversation feel real.
Yeah, and then I continue, yeah, pretty much. I had to run all the way home. It was kind of funny, actually. Now the story evolves and the conversation keeps moving without effort.
Exactly. And if you look at this carefully, it's just small steps connected together. Nobody is saying long, perfect sentences. It's all about reacting, adding, and continuing. Right. And once you get used to this pattern, you stop worrying about what to say next because there's always something to add, react to, or ask about. That's what creates an endless conversation. So after all these examples, I think the biggest shift is not about what to say, but how to think during a conversation. Because once you stop seeing conversations as something you have to complete, they become much more natural. You're just participating, not performing. Yeah, exactly. And that performance mindset is actually what blocks people. They feel like they need to impress or say something perfect, and that pressure creates silence. But real conversations are relaxed and imperfect. Oh, yeah, and I think people also forget that silence is not always bad. A short pause is normal, even for native speakers. The problem is when you panic during that pause. Yeah, and that panic makes your mind go completely blank. But if you stay calm, your brain usually finds something to say naturally. It just needs a moment. Right, and that's where confidence comes in. Not confidence in your vocabulary, but confidence in your ability to continue somehow. Even if it's simple, you trust yourself to keep going. Oh, yeah, and I like that idea a lot. Trusting yourself in conversation. Because once you trust that you can always add something, the fear of running out of ideas disappears, and everything feels easier. And another important thing is accepting that not every conversation needs to be exciting. Sometimes it's just simple, everyday talk, and that's completely fine. Yeah, exactly. Not every moment needs to be interesting or deep. Even small comments like, "It's been a long day," can keep things going. Those simple lines are part of natural communication. Oh, wait, and I think this connects to something bigger. Conversations are about connection, not content. It's not about saying something amazing, it's about staying engaged with the other person. That changes everything. Yeah, and once you focus on connection, you naturally start listening more and reacting better. You're not just thinking about your next sentence, you're actually part of the interaction. Right, and that makes your responses more natural too, because you're responding to the moment, not to a prepared idea. It feels more real. Oh, yeah, and I think another advanced idea is learning to slow things down slightly. You don't have to rush your words. Speaking at a comfortable pace gives you more control. Yeah, that's a really good point. When you slow down just a little, you have more time to think and react, and your speech sounds clearer and more confident. Right, and confidence also comes from repetition. The more conversations you have, the more patterns you recognize, and eventually it becomes automatic. Oh, yeah, and at that point, you don't think, "What should I say next?" anymore. You just naturally continue the conversation. It becomes almost effortless. Yeah, and that's when you realize you don't need perfect English to keep talking. You just need a few simple tools and the right mindset. Everything else builds over time. So if we summarize everything, it's really about adding small details, asking simple questions, and staying relaxed. You don't need big ideas, just continuous interaction. That's the real secret. Exactly. And once you understand that, conversations stop feeling like a challenge. They become something you can enjoy, and that changes your whole experience with English. All right, I think this was a really meaningful discussion today. I hope everyone listening feels more confident about speaking and continuing conversations naturally. Just remember, you always have something to say. Yeah, thank you so much for listening to Better Talk English. We really appreciate it. Try these ideas in your next conversation and see how it feels. Take care, and we'll see you in the next episode. I really like how this topic shows that conversations are not as complicated as they seem at first. You don't need perfect ideas. You just need to stay present and keep the interaction moving step by step. Once you understand that, speaking becomes much more relaxed and enjoyable.
That's true, and I think many learners don't realize this at the beginning. There's this pressure to say something impressive, but in reality, simple and natural responses work much better. Staying engaged is more important than sounding perfect.
Exactly. And even if you feel stuck sometimes, small reactions and simple questions can save the moment. You don't need to carry the entire conversation alone. Just respond, add something small, and keep it going.
Right, and over time, this becomes automatic. You stop worrying about what comes next, and your responses start to flow more naturally. That's when speaking begins to feel comfortable.
All right. Thank you for spending this time with us today. We really appreciate it. Keep practicing, stay relaxed, and allow yourself to speak without overthinking. Progress comes from using the language, not avoiding it.
Thanks for listening to Better Talk English. Try these ideas in your next conversation and notice how things change. We'll be back with more in the next episode.
Take care, everyone. And remember, even small words can keep a conversation alive.
See you next time.